Hello, hello. I can't, again, up at the top, my viewer thing is missing, so I can't see who is on or not on unless I happen to see your name pop up down at the bottom. It's super annoying. It'll disappear for like 5 minutes and then it'll be back later. So, but I'm just gonna sit here and give everybody some time to get on. We are going to be working on our Bible study from this book, but don't worry if you don't have this book. I'm going to read everything, so it doesn't matter if you don't have the book. I see my husband. Oh, look, see, my little pressing counter is up here. I have 4 folks in here, but I can only see one of them. So I'm going to give everybody some time to get on. I shared this on the Discord, so maybe it'll take everybody a few minutes to get here. I know, I'm waiting. Cool your jets. Oh, thank you. Well, it's kind of partially wet right here because I took a shower. It gets on my nerves down because I get hot and I want to just throw it up, but it is getting longer, so when it's short, it gets on my nerves. It's raining outside. I was like, what is that noise? It's raining again. It was storming earlier, so. Oh, thanks for the follow, Sheila. Hey, Nicole. We're just kind of giving everybody a little time to jump on. Hey, Britt. Waiting for a few minutes. I shared this out in the Discord, so I was kind of giving everybody some time. I had also said in the Discord I was going to be like 10 to 15 minutes late, and I was not, so I was only a couple minutes late. Yeah, I said cool your jets. I usually will say cool your britches. Yes, I saw you tried to call. I had my phone in here on the charger because I had completely forgot about going live until about 5 o'clock, and then I realized that my phone was on like 15%. So I plugged it up on the charger and went and finished the cleaning that I was doing, and then I had to eat dinner real quick and hop on here. But I saw you had called, and I figured that's what you had called. Jess had told me that you were sick, so but that's okay. Deborah is my favorite Bible character, so it's totally fine. I will say, if anybody is in here and you want to jump up when we're discussing some of the questions on each section, definitely hit the request button down there and I can bring you up. If you've been around for any of these lives, you know that there is scripture reading and then there's the paragraph or 2 of what's in the book for the day, and then there are usually 2 to 3 questions to discuss afterwards. So if you want to contribute to that at all, just hit the request button and I can bring you up, and you can share. If you don't want to do that, you can definitely type it down here in the comments. That's fine too. I'll catch it that way. Jess, have I given it enough time yet? Can I go ahead and start? He gets mad at me when I start too soon. But I feel silly sitting here doing nothing but looking at the camera. What did everybody do today? What's been going on? I have a long weekend. I'm off every Friday, but then we're also off Monday for Labor Day, so had a long weekend. Kids are out of school, and I've decided I am decluttering and deep cleaning the house. So I've done my master bathroom, my master closet, my master bedroom, my pantry, my kitchen, my living room. We have like a wide hallway, so the kids have a lot of their toys in the hallway. I went through all of those, and I did the kids' room. The only thing left to do, oh, and I did the kids' bathroom. The only thing left to do is to go through the 6-year-old and the 10-year-old's dressers and pull out winter stuff and see what we need to get rid of and what we need to buy for fall and winter. And then I want to wash their sheets, but that will probably have to wait until Monday when I've got some time. Decluttering, it just makes you feel like your mind is clear. Like you've went through everything, you've organized, you've cleaned, and it's just fresh. We had spaghetti. We didn't do meatballs, but we do homemade sauce. So we had spaghetti. And that's why I was a few minutes late, because Jess enticed me to eat before I got on here so that it wasn't cold. It needed to be reheated by the time I got off. So, all right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and start. And then everybody can jump in as they get time. But this week is Deborah, which is my absolute favorite Bible character. But we also get a little bit of a bonus this week because there are 2 really great women in this study. So if you know the Bible story of Deborah, then you probably know who this other woman is. But I have watched a lot of podcasts and sermons and Bible studies about the second woman. So I'm going to talk about her a little bit too. Hot green tea with cinnamon. I don't like green tea. Also don't like hot tea. I just had sweet tea on ice with dinner because Maddie made sweet tea. All right, so we are in this book. You can find it in my bio. There's a link tree to my Amazon storefront. There's a whole Bible study section, and this book is in there. Yeah, I probably should have used that when I had pneumonia, but I am not I can't do hot tea. I can't. Jess likes hot tea, not me. But there's a lot of Bible studies linked in my link tree on my Amazon storefront. This one, I've had it for like 3 years, and this is the second time I'm going through it. I went through it with a church group that I was a part of originally, and I've kept the book. And like I've said before, anybody that knows me, just told you I was decluttering. I don't hold on to anything. if I'm done with it, it's got to get out of here. But I kept this book. Yeah, well, I didn't really know I had pneumonia, so I mean, I probably could have guessed it. People around me probably could have figured it out, but I had a pretty severe case of walking pneumonia. But honestly, I probably would walk around with any case of pneumonia because I don't like to go to the doctor or admit that I'm sick because I don't have time to be sick. Hey, Rick. So we are going to be in Judges chapter 4 for most of this. We jump into chapter 5 towards the end, and then there are 2 verses in Romans that I will read. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hey, Raven. This says, Deborah, a powerful voice in a time of war. Deborah is quite the woman, the only female judge mentioned in the Bible. She is also a prophet, poet, and leader who is forthright and encouraging with her people. Before we meet Deborah, we learn the Jewish people rebelled against God after the last prophet, Ehud, died. Because of this revolt, God allows them to be given to their enemy, the Canaanites. King Jabin's army leader, Sisera, cruelly oppresses the Israelites for 20 years before they cry out to God for help. This is when we meet Deborah, sitting under a palm tree about 13 miles outside Jerusalem, judging matters for the Israelites. In those days, judges not only settled disputes, but could also be military commanders. A prophet of strength, faith, and encouragement, Deborah helps lead the Israelite army through her encouragement of Barak, God's chosen commander. Her straightforward prophecy and wisdom serve her people greatly while keeping their focus on God. Deborah even shows her artistic side by singing poetry and praises to the Lord for the great victory he brought about. Because of Deborah and her powerful voice, the Israelites live in peace for 40 more years. Let's see, make sure I didn't miss anything. Hey, Anne-Marie. All right. So this breaks it down into days, but we're doing one whole character in one whole day. So day 1 is Judges chapter 4, verses 1 through 5. So I'm going to read that, and I'm reading out of a New American Standard Version for those who are reading along. We are chapter 4, 1 through 5. Then the sons of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord after Ehud died. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor, and the commander of his army was Sisera, who lived in Hareseth-Goim. The sons of Israel cried to the Lord, for he had 900 iron chariots, and he oppressed the sons of Israel severely for 20 years. Now Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Leppidoth, was judging Israel at that time. She used to sit under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the sons of Israel came up to her for judgment. What did Jess say? You're an old American. Boy, bye. All right, so this is Deborah's palm tree. In Judges 3, which is not what we read, Judges 3 was just before this, we learn that Israelites go in and out of their relationship with God. Because they live with and marry the Canaanites, they are influenced by the culture and begin to worship their spouses' gods. They then become oppressed by an enemy ruler and cry out to God for relief. So that's a backstory of how we got to where we are in Judges 4. And I had highlighted that in my book, that they were marrying Canaanites. They were, marrying this other culture, and they were starting to be influenced by that culture and began worshiping their spouses' gods. And this is, this isn't our couples devotion that we do on Monday nights, but this just goes to show like what your spouse does can influence what you do. And that's why in the Bible, it talks about being unequally yoked, that, it's different if you guys enter a relationship and neither one of you are really living for God and going to church and doing all that stuff and, have a true relationship. And, one of you comes, to it before the other one. It's like, if I were not married to Jess right now and went out, and me having a relationship with God, I go and find someone who wants nothing to do with God and worships something else, I'm entering into a relationship that is unequally yoked. And we want to think that we're going to have the influence on the other person, but just as much as we could have influence on the other person could have influence on us. And that's not just in a marriage relationship, that's in any relationship. So just be quiet. So in friendships, that's why it's really important. We need to, yes, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm not talking to you because you're not Christian. That's not what I'm saying. But you just need to be careful and be mindful and guard your heart of the relationships that you're in within your life, so that you don't end up letting other people's influence rub off on you, if that makes sense. Sometimes when I explain things, it makes sense in my brain more than it makes sense when I say it out loud, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. Hey, honeybee. When you go live tomorrow, honeybee, send me a personal invite, because I have your bell turned on, but for some reason it doesn't notify me until 30-45 minutes into your live, and then I have totally forgot and I've missed it. Okay, thank you, Jen, because sometimes in my brain it doesn't translate out here. All right, finishing day 1. After the death of Ehud, Deborah is chosen to be the next prophet and only female judge for Israel, the only female judge. In those days, a judge dealt with matters within the Israelite society, but they could also lead their military as Ehud did. A prophet is a spokesperson for God. We first meet Deborah, the wise servant, presiding as judge for her people, settling disputes under a palm tree that was named after her. Men usually held Deborah's job. The fact that the Israelites seek her help shows that they regard her as wise and benevolent. She teaches us that by doing your job well, it garners respect, which isn't limited by gender. Bells in your phone. Boy, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so these are the reflection questions. Each day there are 2 to 3 reflection questions. So this is the part, like I said, if you guys have something to add, you can either type it down in the chat, you can request to join, and I can bring you up in a box and you can share. Just let me know. Question 1. Sometimes our job overlaps or translates nicely into a different one. How do you think judging matters for the Israelites could help Deborah be a strong military leader? Can you think of a time when something you learned in one context, whether a job skill, a classroom lesson, or another experience, excuse me, turned out to be helpful in a different situation? So the first part of that question is, how do you think judging matters for the Israelites could help Deborah be a strong leader? First of all, she's gaining their trust. She is someone that they seek for wise counsel, and so they trust her. So when she needs to lead them in battle as a commander of an army, they trust her. You have to have trust in your leader, and they already have that trust in her. They've already seen her settle these disputes that they have and probably do it in a very just and fair way. And so they trust her. They trust her to lead them into battle. And the second part of the question, can you think of a time when something you learned in one context, whether a job skill or classroom lesson or another experience, turned out to be helpful in a different situation? So for me, I currently work for an audiologist, which ears, hearing aids, that kind of thing. And we see a lot of people. It's not just old people. We do a lot of pediatrics too. We're trying to kind of like push for like the younger group, the 20s to 40s, to come get their hearing tested, because a lot of us have a hearing loss and we don't know it. But I am actually in school right now to get my bachelor's in human services, which is kind of like a mix of social work and counseling. And just shush. And so sometimes some of the things that I have learned in some of my classes for counseling and social work and stuff like that, learning about like how people think and ways to like calm a situation down and stuff like that, you are able to use, I'm able to use that in my current job. So like, we'll have people that come in there and they're very upset and they're yelling and they're screaming, and I can just kind of like step in, calm the situation down between the receptionist that's already like really worked up and the person who we're dealing with who's really worked up, and just be like, hey, we're going to take care of this for you. Can you please go have a seat right there? We're going to look into this. We'll figure it out. Just working on diffusing the situation using some of my counseling skills. Well, our ENT left. We had an ENT and he left. We're trying to get him to come back because he hasn't found another job, but he said there's not enough for him in Southeast Kentucky. So question number 2, what traits does Deborah demonstrate that draw the Israelites to her for judgment? Who in your life has similar traits? Have you complimented them on these characteristics? So it tells us that she is just and fair and is easy to talk to. She's a spokesperson for God. She's wise, and they respect her for all of those things. And as far as someone in my life with similar traits, I don't know. I don't know. I'll think on it. All right, we're going to move on to day 2. Day 2, we're in Judges chapter 4, and we're just going to read verses 6, 7, and 8. Next part of the story, picking right back up where we left off. Now she sent and summoned Barak, the son of Abinoam, from Kadesh Naphtali, and said to him, behold, the Lord, the God of Israel, has commanded, go and march to Mount Tabor, and take with you 10,000 men from the sons of Naphtali and the sons of Zebulun. I will draw out to you Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his many troops to the river Kishon, and I will give him into your hand. Then Barak said to her, if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. And in my Bible, I had, from some sermon I had listened to, I had translated that to like today's words. And basically he's saying, I ain't going if you ain't going. You got booted off. Sorry, sorry. Oh, there's Jamie. Hi, Jamie. All right, so this is the encourager. Deborah sends for Barak and reminds him what God commanded him to do. She must have told him before because she's refreshing his memory. Barak tells Deborah he will only go to war if she goes with him. Barak is not motivated or willing to go to war on his own. But Deborah intervenes and tells him what she knows to hold him accountable. She encourages Barak by reminding him that God promised that he would be the one to take out their oppressor. Yet Barak has little faith. Deborah, however, has strong faith. She heard God's message and relayed it without fear. She even spells out her role of bringing victory to Barak. We can see Barak struggle to take on his role. Accepting what God asks of us is not always easy. When you struggle in this way, do you seek people like Deborah who will encourage you with their strong faith? So yes, that question right there. When I'm having like an issue that I know that God told me something, but I'm not 100% sure. There are people that I reach out to and I'm like, hey, I need you to give me that like spiritual kick in the pants or a spiritual pep talk to let me know that I do know what I'm talking about. I do know God's voice. You almost did post the video, Jamie. Just post the video. Get it out the drafts. All right, reflection questions. Number 1, why do you think Deborah calls for Barak when she does? Can you think of a time when you have had to remind someone of their duty? Do you think you handled it in the best way? And what about a time when you were the hesitant one? That, I don't know. I didn't really think about that question too much. As far as Deborah calling for Barak when she did, she's getting him prepared. She's like, hey, look, it's time. Now's the time. The Lord has spoken to me again. This is time for you to go. Time for you to go. Okay. No one beats their kids around here. Goodbye. If y'all don't know me, I'm quick to block. I don't even play. Goodbye. You ain't gonna come in here with some nonsense. We're here to learn. If you don't want to learn. Anywho. Number 2. Barak asked Deborah to go to war with him. Why do you think he does so? Would things have been different if he had simply asked her without refusing to go otherwise? So, honestly, I think he's scared. We were told back here in, let me find it, that he's to go up to Mount Tabor and he's going to take 10,000 men with him. But the army that they're going against has 900 iron chariots. And they're just taking 10,000 men up there against these 9,000 chariots and however many army, they've got with that. So he's like, no, I'm not going. Like, you're going to go with me. You're not sending me into this alone. If I'm going down, you're going down with me. So that's what I think. That's why I think he was like, not doing it. All right, day 3, we're going to read on. We're doing Judges chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. This is going to be Deborah's response to him. And then there is a scripture in Romans that we will read too. But I'm going to read Judges first. She said, I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, the honor shall not be yours on the journey that you are about to take. For the Lord will sell Sisera into the hands of a woman. Then Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali together to Kadesh, and 10,000 men went up with him. Deborah also went with him. And then the other verse is Romans chapter 15, verses 1 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and read it. I had it marked. There we go. Now we who are strong ought to bear the weaknesses of those without strength and not just please ourselves. Each of us is to please his neighbor for his good, to his edification. Make sure that finished it. Yep. Okay. All right. Now we're going to read this part. This is the ultimatum. In yesterday's reading, just a few minutes ago, I was reading, we learned Barak tried to make a deal with God, stating he would do God's will only if Deborah went with him. He gives Deborah an ultimatum, threatening to abandon his duty if he doesn't get his way. Deborah knows the importance of this war and has no fear because God is with the Israelites. Because of Barak's choice, she tells him directly that he will now have to go to war without a personal victory. A woman will take Sisera out instead and get the glory meant for Barak. Deborah does not coddle Barak. She is direct and tells him what God told her. We witness her obedience, her strong faith, and her bravery. Deborah is a commanding woman who does not beat around the bush. Isn't it interesting that a woman is given the honor that Barak passes up, a role typically played by a male hero? As with Deborah herself, this outcome is a reminder that God's decisions are not limited by our typical gender stereotypes. It should give us pause when making assumptions of what someone is capable of based on their gender. God can put anyone into his plans, even if it seems unconventional. And I'm going to pause right there. Women can preach. Just going to say. Leave that there. Do with it what you will. So the reflection questions for this week. Deborah tells Barak, the road on which you are going will not lead to your glory. Do you sometimes need a reminder that you are on the wrong path for your life? And who do you trust to give you that feedback? I feel like all of us do. I mean, sometimes you think that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And, sometimes we just kind of get caught up and we think that what we want is what God wants. And that's not necessarily true. And, we just get caught up in our plans, and this is our plans, and this is going right. If everything goes right, then that must mean I'm walking in God's will. That's also not true. I've heard people I've even seen that as a quote, I think, that somebody put on Pinterest or something like that. It was like, if the road is easy, you're following God's will. That is not true. That is not true. It's not in the Bible. It's not true. And yeah, like we all need like an accountability partner to be like, excuse me, you're not doing God's will. You all need like an accountability partner to be like, excuse me, you're not doing God's will. You're not, you're taking a left when you should have took a right. You know what I mean? So yes, you need somebody like that. If you're married, it should, your spouse should be that for you. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have somebody else, but your spouse should be able to call you out on some things, which Jess is going to tell y'all in the comments that that's not me. I get mad at him sometimes when he tells me something that I don't want to hear, but I do hear it and I do think about it. I'm just not going to admit to him that he might have been right. I told you. He is giving me the eye rolls. But you should also, I feel like you should also have, like women should have at least one other woman in Christ that can, be like, hey, sis, you've said this lately, or you've been doing this, and I kind of feel like your motives are wrong, or you're headed down the wrong path that I don't want to see you head down. And the same thing for guys. Like you should have a brother in Christ that's like, hey, Elle, that's like, hey, like maybe you should kind of back off a little bit, or maybe you shouldn't have said this, or maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Number 2, how does Romans 15:1-2 apply to Deborah and what she did for Barak? So you want me to read it again? Because we all need to hear it again. Now we who are strong ought to bear the weaknesses of those without strength and not just please ourselves. Each of us is to please his neighbor for his good, to his edification. And that's what she did. She's like, all right, look, he's too weak to take this on. He can't do this by himself. I'm going to have to hold his hand and walk him through it. So she's like, all right, let's go. If anybody saw the TikTok that I put, I think it was yesterday, but I made like a cute little meme of when Barak says he won't go to war unless Deborah goes, and it's that woman who's like, walking and you can hear her heels clicking walking away. That's what she's like. She's like, all right. He's like, hey, I'm not going if you're not going. And she's like, all right, buddy, let's go. And she takes him on and drags him on because her strength is stronger in this point. She's got the faith and she's going to carry him through it. And sometimes we have to do that for each other. And that's, again, this is not the marriage night, but that can also relate to relationships where, sometimes my faith is stronger than Jess's and I got to kind of pull him along, and vice versa. Sometimes his faith is a lot stronger than mine and he's got to pull me along. And it can be like that in friendships too. Like, your friend is like up here and, they're doing really good and their faith is good. And you're just kind of like, oh man, I'm over it. And they kind of like pull you up. I mean, it's like the story of the friends who, tore the roof off to lower their friends to the ground. Sometimes the faith and the strength of your friends overcome your weaknesses. All right, let's see. Day 4. We are Judges 4. This one's a little bit longer. We're verses 12 through 24. All right, let's see. Then they told Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor. Sisera called together all his chariots, 900 iron chariots, and all the people who were with him from Harosheth-Hagoyim to the river Kishon. Deborah said to Barak, arise, for this is the day in which the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Behold, the Lord has gone out before you. So Barak went down from Mount Tabor with 10,000 men following him. The Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and all his army with the edge of the sword before Barak. And Sisera alighted from his chariot and fled away on foot. But Barak pursued the chariots and the army as far as Harosheth-Hagoyim, and all the army of Sisera fell by the edge of the sword. Not even one was left. Now Sisera fled away on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, for there was peace between Jabin the king of Hazor and the house of Heber the Kenite. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, turn aside, my master, turn aside to me. Do not be afraid. And he turned aside to her into the tent, and she covered him with a rug. He said to her, please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. So she opened a bottle of milk and gave him a drink. Then she covered him. He said to her, stand in the doorway of the tent, and it shall be, if anyone comes and inquires of you and says, is there anyone here? Then you shall say no. But Jael, Heber's wife, took a tent peg and seized a hammer in her hand and went secretly to him and drove the peg into his temple, and it went through into the ground, for he was sound asleep and exhausted. So he died. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said to him, come, and I will show you the man whom you are seeking. And he entered with her, and behold, Sisera was lying dead with the tent peg in his temple. So God subdued on that day Jabin the king of Canaan before the sons of Israel. The hand of the sons of Israel pressed heavier and heavier upon Jabin the king of Canaan until they had destroyed Jabin the king of Canaan. So I told y'all there was a second surprise woman here, and it's Jael. And this is, she's only got 6 verses that even have her name in it, where we're even where they even talk about her. But we'll go back. So first of all, when Sisera fled on foot, he went to the tent of Jael, and her husband happened to not be there at the time. And her husband, Heber, was actually peaceful with Jabin. He was kind of playing, was playing both sides. The Kenites at the time, and comes from a podcast that I had listened to, that particular tribe at the time was kind of like, how we all say we're going to be Switzerland and we're kind of like okay with everybody. That's how they were. They were okay with Sisera and his army and the Canaanites, and they were okay with the Israelites. They just kind of were like in the middle, not really picking sides. But the husband happened to not be at home at this time, and they live in tents. They're tent dwellers. And they're actually nomads. And this is the really cool part about this whole story that I just love the most. Because I remember when I heard this, shared this way, like I wanted to tell everybody about it. So this particular tribe were nomads. That meant they, picked up and traveled all over the place. So part of that when they're setting their tents is they've got to drive tent pegs over and over and over again. I mean, they might be somewhere for a couple of weeks and then they got to pick up their tent and move it. And they got to drive those tent pegs again. And typically the women are the ones who would set the tents up whenever they moved, wherever they were going. So Jael at this point has probably driven a tent peg hundreds of times, setting up tents every time that they had to move. And you can imagine that, like, when she's doing this day in and day out, every time they got to move, this might be a task that she's super, super annoyed by, or she's like, oh, I keep doing this over and over and over. I have to keep driving these tent pegs over and over and over. Every couple of days, I got to do this again. I got to do it because it's just a monotonous part of her everyday life. And she probably in her mind is thinking, this is a pointless task. I just have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And then when Sisera comes to her tent and he confides in her and as a place to stay and trusts her, because again, they're, Switzerland, they kind of get along with everybody. And she knows that he's a bad dude and she's got to get rid of him. So she feeds him. He asks for water and she gives him milk. So she's nicer to him. And then he lays down to go to sleep and she sees an opportunity like, hey, I can take care of him right now. And she uses a tent peg and her hammer to drive this tent peg through his head. And she has to get it just the right spot. If she misses, if she makes too much noise, whatever it is, she could wake him up and miss, and then she's dead. But remember, she's done this hundreds of times. This is a job that she's had over and over and over again. This is a task that she knows. She knows she can hit this hammer on this tent peg and it's going to hit. She's not going to miss. She has confidence because this is a task that she's done over and over and over again. And she does it and she takes care of it. And she's the woman who ends up getting the victory that God had for Barak, but he was too scared to follow through. So she got that victory. But it just goes back to, this was a task that she had done hundreds of times before as they were moving around that she thought was insignificant. There was no purpose in this. I'm tired of doing this. This is so annoying. And then it turned out to be the way that she would end this evil king and hand this victory over to the Israelites. So when I was listening to the podcast that I heard about it, it was about, I think it was close to Mother's Day or something, but it was talking about women. And a lot of times as women, there's things that we do for our family over and over and over again, day in and day out, that we just feel are meaningless tasks. Why are we doing this? I'm just going to do it again tomorrow. Like washing the dishes. I'm so tired of loading this dishwasher and unloading this dishwasher. I'm so tired of mopping this floor. I'm so tired of... But we don't realize that sometimes these little things that we just have to do every day can lead to something bigger, can lead to a bigger moment later on in our life. So that's what I wanted to share before I even got to the book for this. So this day that we just read in Judges, a few days later, God tells Deborah the day for battle is here. To offer hope, Deborah reminds Barak that God is ahead and has put things in order. They go to battle with only swords against Sisera and his 900 iron chariots. The Israelites are at a disadvantage, but God confuses and destroys the enemy. Sisera's whole army is killed by the Israelites. Sisera himself runs away into the tent of a woman named Jael. Little does he know, Jael is the woman who Deborah prophesied would kill him. Deborah is a courageous and powerful leader to her people, while also giving hope and encouragement to Barak, getting him to follow through with commanding the Israelites to war. Being a great leader like Deborah includes inspiring others as well as giving commands. Deborah knows she is not to take Barak's role, that he has this part to play. So when he was like, I'm not going to war if you're not going, she could have been like, dude, sit down and I'll just take care of this. But she doesn't. She's like, all right, we're both going to go, because she knew that he still had a part to play. And that's part of being a good leader, is that sometimes you have to kind of like lead in the background. You've got to be like, okay, this is what you need to do, and I'm going to kind of help you get there, not just give it to me and let me do it. Yes, Mama Carla, that's what I was trying to get out of my brain. You got it. Perfect. The reflection questions for today. We see Deborah give hope to Barak after she tells him to get up and go. Why does she do so, as opposed to simply commanding him as a judge and prophet? What is the lesson? So that's kind of what I touched on just a second ago. She's encouraging him to follow through with what he's supposed to do. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to be doing. And she's like, hey, this is what God wants you to do. This is what God has told you to do. You need to do it. And she's trying to kind of like push him to walk out his call, basically. And sometimes we need that ourselves. Number 2, Deborah can be authoritative too. Why do you think she needs to be tough with Barak and not rely solely on inspiring him with hope? Can you think of times in your life when you needed to both motivate someone and be strict with them? How can you balance these two methods? So I think that's really important, because sometimes there's some people in our life that they coddle us a little bit, they baby us, they pet on us, and they're like, hey, let me take care of you, let me handle this for you. Oh, you don't have to deal with this right now, you're going through a lot. And sometimes we really just need somebody to be like, no, I love you, and I'm going to pray with you, and I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to, be here to cheer you on, but you got to get up, and you got to, pull up your big girl panties and move along. So there's a fine line between like, this is what you're doing because I said so, and let me encourage you to get there, and this is, but I'm going to be a little bit firm with you. And I feel like a good example of that is like with our kids, right? Like we shouldn't just be like, oh, well, because I'm the mom, I said so, you just do it. You can encourage them to do the right thing and do what they're supposed to do, but still be a little strict about it. Like with my kids, sometimes they don't want to clean up their toys. And I'm like, look, it's time to clean up toys. This is what we're going to do. You take this section, you do that. You take this section, you do this, and let's go. And one thing that helps them is like if I set a timer and I'm like, hey, I'm going to set this timer. Let's see if we can get these toys cleaned up. They're doing what I want them to do and what they're supposed to do. But I'm also not just being like, we're going to clean up these toys and we're going to clean up these toys right now. It's kind of like making it a little bit of encouragement. They're going to try to beat this timer. It's a game, but also leading them to where they need to go. I need some water. That water's cold. There's ice in it. All right, day 5. We are moving on to Judges 5. We are chapters, verses 1 through 7. Boop. Then Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, sang on that day, saying that the leaders led in Israel, that the people volunteered, bless the Lord. Hear, O kings, give ear, O rulers. To the Lord I will sing. I will sing praise to the Lord, the God of Israel. Lord, when you went out from Seir, when you marched from the field of Edom, the earth quaked, the heavens also dripped, even the clouds dripped water. The mountains quaked in the presence of the Lord, this Sinai at the presence of the Lord, the God of Israel. In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anath, in the days of Jael, the highways were deserted, and travelers went by roundabout ways. The peasantry ceased. They ceased in Israel until I, Deborah, arose. Until I arose, a mother in Israel. All right. Make sure I was reading what I was supposed to. The war is won and Sisera is dead. Barak has fulfilled his role as has Deborah. It is now time to celebrate by praising God in a poem and singing, interweaving the story of the war. Deborah and Barak sing this song as equals. She honors and respects the role Barak has played and treats him accordingly. Deborah gives honor and praise to God for all he has done. She praises all the men who helped win the war and even gives herself a pat on the back. As a mother to her people, Deborah demonstrates that when God works in your life, it's important to acknowledge and thank him, as well as everyone who stepped up to help. Deborah's treatment of Barak is also notable. She is wise and generous to include him in her song and not dwell on his flaws. As a judge, Deborah shows that judgment can include mercy and understanding, which we all need because none of us are perfect. So that's what stood out to me. She's including him in this. She's not like, hey, look what I did. I did this. This fool wouldn't do what he was supposed to do, so I had to step in and I had to help. And, oh, look, another woman helped out. And she's the one that finally, took care of what needed to be taken care of because he wouldn't do what he wanted to do or what God wanted him to do. So she is giving him praise as well, like, saying, hey, look, he did finally step up. He did what he's supposed to do. And then she's thanking God for following through with what he had told her he was going to do. Which is a big, we need to make sure we're doing that. Sometimes, we pray for something and we pray for it and we pray for it and we pray for it. We're not shy to ask God for what we want. But then when he gives it to us, do we turn around and thank him for it? Or do we sing his praises afterwards? Like, man, look what God has done. Thank you, God. Thank you for doing this for me. Do we do that? Do we hit the altar to pray and then turn around and hit the altar again to say thank you? Most of us probably don't, if we're being honest. So that's another big lesson, is they went through a lot right there, but they still took the time to go back and be like, look what God did. Thank you, Lord, for what you did. And then I also underlined this in the book, that as a judge, she shows that you can give judgment, but also include mercy and understanding. So she wasn't just out here telling everybody what to do and not offering mercy and understanding, because he's still a human, right? He's still going to make mistakes like everybody does, but she offers him mercy, and she's like, I know you were scared in the beginning, but you went out and did it, and look what we've done. Look what God's brought us through. Look what God did. And she's being understanding of his weaknesses. And that goes back to what we read in Romans, where, sometimes somebody's going to, need you to kind of help push them along. And you need to do so without being boastful about it. Just help. Right. And she helped him. Deborah expresses her devotion and emotions in an artful manner by using poetry and song. How do you express your gratitude to God and others? Do you ever get creative? So for me, I'm going to talk about with others. So I'm an acts of service type of person. I like to do things for other people. So I'm the one who likes to cook dinner and take it to somebody, or, show some kind of gesture to show my gratitude. Let me do something for you. Question number 2. Consider the many roles Deborah plays in this story: judge, leader, prophet, inspirer. How have you played these roles in your life, and how have you honored God in these roles? That one's a little bit tougher. I don't know. I'm not going to answer that one because I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Yes, arise, Deborah's, exactly. All right, we got one more day of scripture to read. So we're in Judges chapter 5, 8 through 31, and we're finishing out her song here. New gods were chosen, then war was in the gates. Not a shield or a spear was seen among 40,000 in Israel. My heart goes out to the commanders of Israel, the volunteers among the people. Bless the Lord. You who ride on white donkeys, you who sit on a rich carpet, and you who travel on the road, sing. At the sound of those who divide flocks among the watering places, there shall recount the righteous deeds of the Lord, the righteous deeds for his peasantry in Israel. Then the people of the Lord went down to gates. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake, sing a song. Arise, Barak, and take away your captives, O son of Abinoam. The survivors came down to the nobles. The people of the Lord came down to me as warriors. From Ephraim, those whose root is in Amalek came down, following you, Benjamin, with your peoples. From Machir, commanders came down, and from Zebulun, those who wield the staff of the office. And the princes of Issachar were with Deborah. As was Issachar, so was Barak. Into the valley they rushed at his heels. Among the divisions of Reuben, there were great resolves of heart. Why did you sit among the sheepfolds to hear the piping for the flocks? Among the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings of heart. Gilead remained across the Jordan, and why did Dan stay in the ships? Asher sat at the seashore and remained by its landings. Zebulun was a people who despised their lives even to death, and Naphtali also on the high places of the field. Where do I stop? Okay. The kings came and fought. Then fought the kings of Canaan at Tanakh near the waters of Megiddo. They took no plunder in silver. The stars fought from heaven from their courses. They fought against Sisera. The torrent of Kishon swept them away. The ancient torrent, the torrent Kishon. O my soul, march on with strength. Then the horse's hoofs beat from the dashing of his valiant steeds. Curse Meroz, said the angel of the Lord. Utterly curse its inhabitants, because they did not come to the Lord, the help of the Lord, to the help of the Lord against the warriors. Most blessed of women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Most blessed is she of women in the tent. He asked for water, and she gave him milk. In a magnificent bowl she brought him curds. She reached out her hand for the tent peg, and her right hand for the workman's hammer. Then she struck Sisera. She smashed his head, and she shattered and pierced his temple. Between her feet he bowed. He fell, he lay. Between her feet he bowed, he fell. Where he bowed, where he fell dead. Out of the window she looked and lamented, the mother of Sisera through the lattice. Why does his chariot delay in coming? Why do the hoofbeats of his chariots tarry? Her wise princesses would answer her. Indeed, she repeats her words to herself. Are they not finding? Are they not dividing the spoil? A maiden, 2 maidens for every warrior. To Sisera, a spoil of dyed work, a spoil of dyed work embroidered, dyed work of double embroidery around the neck of the spoiler. Thus let all your enemies perish, O Lord, but let those who love him be like the rising of the sun in its might. And the land was undisturbed for 40 years. Did I miss anything? Okay. Deborah continues to sing. Her song explains, when the floods came and filled the river of Kishon, the river was the water that took out Sisera and his men. She honors Jael for slaying Sisera. We don't know if Jael is a sympathizer or an Israelite, nor do we know her motivation. Deborah then sings about Sisera's mother, wondering if her son and his men would take women as spoils. Instead, Jael took Sisera captive. Deborah ends her song cursing the enemy and blessing God's friends. This song serves many purposes. Deborah is proud of her people and lifts up all those who participated in God's plan of war by thanking them. She also reminds everyone it was God's strength, not theirs, that made this victory possible. She refers to the consequences of war by mentioning those who have fallen and their families, like Sisera and his mother. She reminds listeners of the reason for the conflict, which is the suffering of the Israelites under Sisera. Brenda, we are reading in Judges. We're reading about Deborah. And I was reading the part that comes out of this book. All right, so the reflection questions for the last day. Why do you think Deborah sings about the days leading up to the war, as well as the details of the war itself? So, I feel like she's just telling her story. She's kind of leading into everything that lined up for it to happen the way that it did. You know, sometimes when we're trying to tell our story about something that God's done, you can't just tell the exact, quick version. You've got to tell all the backstory, because there's all these things that led to where the story got to where it was, because God usually doesn't just work in an instant like that. He's always working, and he's lining out all these things. And then when you look back at it, you're like, man, he did this way, and I didn't realize it. He did this like this, and I didn't realize it. Because you're getting to where the big thing's going to happen. He's lining out all the details. So she's telling all the details. She's telling all the backstory. You know how when you're like, long story short? No, she's long story, long story. Like, she's going to tell you, she's got to tell you the whole thing. She's got to lay it all out for you so you can understand it. Number 2, singing praises to God is a common theme throughout the Bible. In fact, Psalms actually mean songs. Miriam, Moses' sister, is the first woman to sing praises to God in Exodus 15. The sons of Korah wrote Psalm 47, and the King David wrote Psalm 108, both of which were created after Deborah wrote her song, and both give praise to God. How is Deborah's song the same as the songs in those readings? How are they different? What are they alike compared with modern day praise songs? So if you want to go look these up, this was Psalm 47 and then Psalm 108. If you want to go back and you want to compare them. All right, so this is the reflect and take action. Oh, my foot is stuck. I'm sitting on my bed and my foot is in a weird position. All right, we're going to do the action items first. This is the call to action, what it wants you to do to put everything into perspective. Carla, I'm going to pin that up here so everybody can see it. Those are the 2 psalms that they mention in the book to compare Deborah's song to. It can be easy to be critical of people and can be challenging to encourage them. Deborah encouraged. Search what the Bible says about encouragement. Then encourage people in your life this week and beyond, and notice how they respond to you. So that's one. I think Jess shared this with some people, but a few weeks ago, there was something going on at work, and there was some negativity and coming from kind of everybody, but one person in particular kind of picked up on it and ran off with it. And that's okay, Carla. Thank you for coming for what you did. Thank you. And it could have been I kind of got dragged into it. And pretty much got told that I was a bad Christian. I shouldn't have been involved in this person getting in trouble at work. I mean, she was doing things she shouldn't have done. And we felt like the boss needed to know, and yada, yada, yada. But anyways, I got pulled aside by someone else and was told that I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't, you never go tell on anybody. That's not what Christians do. You're just supposed to keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, blah, blah, blah. And I could have reacted in a, how dare you tell me, what to do? How dare you say that? Like, I could have just, attacked, which, honestly, when I was telling Jess the story, he was shocked that I didn't, because me from even a year ago, me even from 6 months ago might have just flew off the handle. But I just sat there and I let her talk, and I was like, yep, And what I did is I left work that evening and I called my boss and I said, look, I knew that she had had the conversation with the other coworker, and I was like, look, I know that all this just happened with her. Just be quiet. I knew that, but other people, other things have been said that are negative, myself included. It's hard to not get caught up in a negative mindset, especially working in healthcare. People are very on edge lately about everything, and you just kind of get beat up some days. Some days it's just, it's not about when you're gonna get attacked. It's how many times today is somebody gonna attack me and cuss me out on the phone, or we've had patients come in and throw stuff at the receptionist. So it gets wild, and it's hard not to get caught up in that negative too. And we try to do the best that we can for all of our patients, and that's a big thing that gets me upset, is when a patient tells me that I don't care enough, because I try to go above and beyond. And I do things that are not even required of me at work, not even required of our office in general, to try to help people. And when people say that, it just gets me. So it's hard for us not to get caught up in this negative train of, people are being negative to us, so we're going to be negative about them. And then, I turn around and get mad at my coworker and say something bad about my coworker behind their back. And then I'm sitting around with my coworkers at lunch, and we're all talking about this patient that gets on our nerves and saying mean things about them. And I called my boss that afternoon and I said, look, I'd like to have a meeting tomorrow with everybody right after lunch and just kind of put it out there, that we need to try to get out of this negative mindset, and if that's okay with you. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So we had the meeting after lunch, and I was like, look, I know it's hard for everybody. We get caught up in this negative mindset. We've got people, just being so ugly to us. And I know for me, I have said things about every single one of you when I was mad or upset or stressed out that I shouldn't have said, and I apologize for that. I also know that I have sat around and I've talked bad about patients who have made me mad or said this or said that, and that I shouldn't have said those things. And as a Christian woman, I'm going to hold myself to a higher standard, and I'm going to say I'm not doing that anymore. And I want you guys to help hold me accountable too. And when I do something or I say something or I get caught up in these negative thoughts, for you to be like, hey, Tiffany, you need to watch your mouth. And I was like, and I encourage all of you guys to do the same. And I'm going to try to do my best to help encourage you as well. And then I went to my desk, and I have a planner that a friend had gotten me. And on each page, there's like a verse, and it's very pretty. It's got like a flowers, like a painted flower background, and then there's a Bible verse. And then the other side is the side that you like write your day stuff on. And I went through all the days of the week, or the pages for this year that I've already used, and I found Bible verses, and I just tore them all out and trimmed them up, and I covered my whole desk area in these verses. And they're all about encouraging, being positive, not saying negative things, turning away, all those verses. And I'm keep trying, when I get in like this patient's in my ear and they're just, I'm like looking at those things. I have my phone right here, and all the Bible verses are right here in front of me, right behind my computer. And I'm on the phone and someone's yelling at me, and I just look over, and as they're yelling, I'm just reading the verses. I'm reading the verses. And, and I've been trying. I know this week I have like really tried with everybody, like, okay, let's think of something positive. Or like, we had a patient who has been really difficult in the past, and we're getting ready to see her, and the doctor's like, oh, I don't even want to talk to her about this. She's going to hate it. She's going to do bad. She's going to da-da-da-da. And I was like, no, I think she'll do fantastic. And I, kind of tried to spin it around and make it a positive. So I feel like that's where, I'm trying to do better. Not the best about it at home all the time. Just ask Jess. But I'm working on it. And so that's something that you could do if you go to work and you try to be like that encourager at work and be positive. Like I said, for me, it was good to put like Bible verses about relating to stuff like that around me, so that like when I'm sitting at my desk and something like that is going on, I can just look and I can read and I can just be like, calm down, because I can't yell and be ugly to somebody while looking at Bible verses, right? All right. Let's see. Here's a chance to get creative. Write a poem or song of praise to God for something in your life. Take notice if there were other people involved and include them. Write it in a notebook or journal. Deborah sung, oh my Lord, do y'all hear Nolan? Deborah sung about Sisera's mother. How do you think others paint a picture of you? Ask your family and friends their thoughts. Is that how you want to be remembered? If not, what needs to change? And how can you start to make those changes? So that was another reason why I did what I did at work, because even though I know that things that one coworker said to me about how I wasn't a good Christian and I was hurting my witness and this and that was not all true. It deeply hurt me that someone would think those things about me. And so that's when I was like, I need to do something. I need I need to be human, and I need to admit that I've done things wrong, and I haven't been perfect, because no one's perfect. And, you know, even though I'm a Christian, that does not mean that I'm perfect. And then I need to make an action plan for what I'm going to do moving forward. So that's like, I don't want people to think that, or a memory of me, because, you know, I don't plan on being at this job forever. I'm in school, so I'm going to graduate. Hey, Dr. Cheryl, and I'm not going to be here. But I don't want, when I leave, when they're telling, you know, like, future coworkers about me, or telling stories, for it all be negative things, or all be like, oh, she got real mad this one time and she said da 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 da, or, you know, she was real hateful, or I don't want that to be the things that people say about me. All right, the key insights from this week. Deborah is a prophet and the only female judge named in the Bible. Her role is surprising because men usually handled war. She reminds us that God can choose anyone to use as his instrument. Anyone. Man, woman, child, drug addict, murderer, anyone. Deborah is forthright and faithful to God. She tells it like it is and doesn't worry about what Barak thinks of her or his fear of war. There is no people pleasing with Deborah. So there's a fine line between no people pleasing and telling it like it is and being hateful and mean. A lot of people are real mean and hateful and just say the most hateful things, and they're just like, well, I just tell it like it is. No, you're a booty hole. You are mean, and you're just wanting to be ugly to people and use that as an excuse. But she was not like that. She wasn't like, Brock, you are a little pansy, and you need to get it together and put your big girl panties on and get out here. She wasn't. She was like, all right, you need me to go with you? I'll go with you. And then when it was the day that they were needed to start, she's like, come on, you need to get up and we need to get moving. She wasn't being a jerk to him. So there's a difference. There's a fine line. Exactly, Jamie. The peacemaker and the peacekeeper. You can't just say what you want to say and then hide behind that. Well, I don't beat around the bush. No, that ain't it. Jess, do you keep repeating that? I'm going to school for human services. I will graduate at the end of December of this year, finally. I've been trying to graduate for like 6 years and I keep having to stop and go back. But basically, for those who don't know, human services is like social work and counseling kind of mixed together. And I said I was going to take time off, but I've already applied for my master's program to start in January for mental health counseling. So, anywho, the last reflection point. Deborah helps Barak come into his calling as a commander by treating him as one and calls him a leader in her song. She doesn't condemn him for his flaws or act superior because she has greater faith. She tries to bring out the best in him. And I feel like that's a great last point, because so many times somebody just needs some encouragement to get where they're going. They don't need you to, beat them over you're supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to be doing that. You need to just encourage them and get them there. And sometimes just like knowing that somebody has that faith in you and believes in you and knows that you can, reminds you to walk your call out, that helps you out. Oh, you just went back for social work? Well, I will be able to be a case manager after I graduate in December. That'll be like one job that I will be able to do. And I was looking at working with Second Mile in London, because Brittany and Lonnie, that's where Brittany works. And so she's like, we always need case managers. So I've been, looking at that, and because I really need to be working somewhere as a case manager or in the field while I'm doing my master's, because there will be things that I need to do later on in my master's that require clinical stuff. So, but anyway, back to what I was saying. I got distracted. But she doesn't condemn him for his flaws. She's not like, dude, you need to, you're being such a wimp right now. She's like, all right, come on, I'm gonna go with you. We're gonna do this together. And she encourages him up through the way. And where it says she helps him come into his calling by treating him like he's already the leader that he's called to be. And sometimes we need to do that with everybody else. We need to treat them as if they're already walking out what God has called them to do, and not keep reminding them that they're not there yet. Oh, you're also in the social work field. Yeah, I originally was going to do my degree in social work, but it was going to add, I wasn't going to graduate until next May, and I'm ready to get the bachelor's underway. I'm not like tired of school necessarily. I want a degree to show for my work. About to take on the whole. Yep. I'll be there tomorrow and talk Paducah. No, nobody's going to Paducah, Jesselina. Absolutely not. Jesselina has a thing for Paducah. Well, she doesn't like Paducah. Something happened there. And she doesn't say it right. She calls it something crazy every time. Deborah, a righteous judge, not a judgy person. Exactly. Merciful and hardworking. There's a difference between being a righteous judge of character and disputes and being just a judgy McJudgerson. Difference. Does anybody have anything they want to add?
Judgy McJudgerson?
Jess is picking on me from the other room. Paducah is a town in Kentucky. It's in western Kentucky. It's not even close. But as soon as Jesselina found out that we lived in Kentucky, she immediately had to ask me about Paducah. I've never been there. I've never been to western Kentucky, ever. Well, Jess is in here, so Jess, the bushy bearded dad, said hi. Does that work for you? Do you hear him yelling, "Hey, Paul," back? Jess is a nut. But does anybody have anything they want to add?
Are KFC still open?
Y'all ignore him. He's a fool. Anybody have anything they want to add? Anything they learned during this Bible study? Questions you have? Anything like that? This was week 5, so this is a 12-week study, so we got 7 more weeks left. And next week is on Ruth, if you want to screenshot it there. But it is about Ruth, so obviously it is in the book of Ruth. And it starts in chapter 1, verse 1, and then we're going to go through chapter 4. And there are no other verses, but all Ruth. So, is Jess my first client? Back to Jess tomorrow. Look, that you still got the couple study on Monday, and we'll be on my TikTok and Jess's Facebook. So, just saying. And again, if you're not married, you don't have a girlfriend, you're single like a Pringle, you can still come and be a part of the couple study, because Jess and I give each other a hard time and we spill each other's beans. So I need to post the previous ones. I have forgotten to post them. Look, someone's in my box.
Hey, sister.
Come in, Lacey.
I absolutely gained a lot of perspective from this study. I love Deborah. I always say, like, to the girls that I'm currently discipling, raise up, Deborah, raise up, JL. Like, where are you at?
Yep.
You can't just expect God to do everything. Deborah is such an amazing representation of following God and what God instructs us to do. It's never like, oh, okay, let's just, fall back and wait for God to do everything because he's going to prepare everything for us. No, if he tells you to go, you go. And
Yep.
that is it was a beautiful representation of absolute obedience. So thank you so much for this. It was a great study.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that, because I forgot. That was another thing I was going to mention. Like, sometimes you can't just sit around and wait for God. He tells you to do something, and you've got some action that you've got to do to get there. He's not just going to hand you everything on a silver platter. You got to do some work. And that was another lesson, is like, you got to do a little bit of work too.
Right. I mean, God told me to come to the good old state of good old Wyoming. And I was like, yeah, no. I'm like, absolutely not. I mean, you guys know this. And the next thing I know, I get married, and now we're moving to the Hoosier state. And I'm like, for what? And the next day, like, my husband's telling me, God told me that we're going to take back the church. I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go become a pastor's wife, as I'm like still battling my own. You know, he knows the Hoosier state. It's northern Indiana, so apparently it's better. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. It's kind of like Patahoochee.
I'm saying it wrong.
It's always going to be Patahoochee. I don't care what anyone says.
The only reason that I know how to say it is because the first time I ever had to read it somewhere, like while I was in Kentucky, everyone laughed hysterically at me, and they're like, "It's Paducah."
Patahoochee.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
Welcome to the Midwest. We're glad to have you. Thank you so much. While I was there, we went to Michigan, to some beach around there. I don't even know. I just got in the car. But it was my husband. It was with my husband this time, so I wasn't being like 16 and stupid. I was like actually like going with like, you know, a responsible adult. Wait, I said it right. Still thought it was right. Yeah, see? I don't care. I think it's Patahoochee. I don't care what anyone tells me. It's Patahoochee.
Well, don't say it too much if you're around people that are from Kentucky, because they'll laugh at you.
I don't care. They can laugh. We can all laugh together.
I can't. There's so many like cities that I have said so wrong, and they're like, that's not even close. And I'm like, that's what it looks like. So that's what I'm saying.
That's what's up, Jen. Thank you for the invite. There's a city in California. I don't know how. I think it's like Zer something. It's like XYZZ XY or something like that.
Oh.
It's like right before you hit the Arizona border. I don't even know how to pronounce it. So, see?
I feel like somebody wrote that when they were falling asleep. They're like,
but this was a good study, sis. Like, honestly, it makes my heart happy to see you like grow so much more bolder and grow so much more confident. And being on live, I remember like the first time you went live, and then we went live together to read for Jessica. It was great.
yeah,
And now to see you like,
today.
look at you now, like super solo doloing it. It's just beautiful to see that confidence and that you're so glowy. And it's just beautiful to see like the woman of God that we all see personally or on the phone, but now we get to see it on a TikTok live.
Well, it's better when I have Jess here, because then I can just pick on him when I'm nervous, and everybody.
Stop looking at your nails, girl. You just did them yesterday. But that's what's up, sis. I'm so glad. It was a really good study. I love Deborah and JL. They're for sure one of my favorite duos in the Bible, because it just shows obedience. It shows action. It shows, you know, the actual protection that a woman will do for her nation and for her country. Like JL really went about that business and handled that for her country, for her nation, for her children.
Right. Yeah. And again, that's another thing. Like, she had to act. Like, she couldn't just be like, oh, well, you know, I'm supposed to end this, but God, you know, God's going to take care of it, I guess, while he's sleeping. She took action and she did what she needed to do. Jen, I will try to post this. I need to post the last several, and I keep saying I'm going to do it, and then I forget. But I need to do it. I also need to post the couples ones too. I haven't posted any of those.
I like those. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's times where like I'll watch it here and there. And I showed my husband one time. I was like, "Look, babe, they're doing the book that we did." And he's like, "That's what's up. That book was so good." I'm like, "I know, right?"
We have got to start looking at what we're going to do for the next one, but luckily there's several days worth in there. But we got to start figuring out what we're going to do for the next one.
You guys should, after this, should do like the Bait of Satan. I think that'd be such a good like book thingy for you guys to do.
Yeah, I haven't even. I've been worried about trying to find what my next book is going to be for this study because there's only 7 more weeks of this, but I haven't really thought about it too much. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to do Fervent by Priscilla. I can't ever say her last name right. Yeah, the double R's get me all messed up. But I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to make my decision this week because I'm going to get the book on Friday. Whatever book I decide to do, I'm going to order it Friday. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with her. So, because I feel like that's a good one for everybody, not just women. And I know when I brought it up to like a group of people, kind of everybody was really interested in the fervent prayer. So,
That's what's up.
Yep. So,
Well, I'm gonna jump off here because I was making basil. I literally texted a picture of what I was doing to Jazz. He's like, "Why'd you leave?" I was like, "I'm making dinner." Some of us got responsibilities, you know.
he's the dinner cooker. So,
What is he making for dinner?
we already ate. He made spaghetti.
I made basil with chicken and homemade gnocchi.
I don't know what that is.
It's potato, like a little potato pillow pasta.
Oh, is it the word that starts with a G?
Yes, gnocchi.
Okay. Yeah, I always say it wrong as well.
I had a lot of basil that I had to harvest, so I was like, I'm gonna make pesto.
I love pesto.
It's not fancy.
Pesto's so good.
Pesto is legit. I mean, basil, spinach, walnuts, cheese, lemon, olive oil. There you go.
Yeah, I made homemade pesto a few times when I was a lot younger and had more time and a food processor.
Just get a blender.
Well, I have one now, but for a while I didn't have anything, so I just quit making it. So I just started buying the stuff in a jar.
Gnocchi is so good. I love it. It's easy and it's there. That's what we're doing.
I've seen a bunch of recipes for it, but I've never did it.
It's like smashed potatoes and flour
Oh,
and
that's
salt. That's literally all it is.
and it is not pronounced the way I thought it was.
Gnocchi. Gnocchi.
It's like you and Paducah. Not right.
Paducah. It's still Patahucha. I don't care what anyone says. I will literally go on the hill and just battle anyone for that name. It's Patahucha.
Jamie, I bet you we did say it the same. Yeah.
That sounds weird. What sounds weird? The way I say Patahucha?
I think he's talking about the
gnocchi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, what Jess just said is the way I would say.
Why are you yelling at me, Jess? I'm sensitive.
There's a town in Virginia, Bassy,
Bassy?
Bassai. I don't know.
I don't even know.
I've never heard of that town in Virginia, Paul. Bassy. So I said it right the last time. Bassy.
Bay seasoning? Like Old Bay? Like Bay?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Bassy. There's lots of weird names of everything.
There is.
There was a town that we lived in North Carolina that was spelled Pfafftow'n, and it was Pofftown, but it looks like Pufftown.
Oh, did I tell you that in Illinois, there's a city called Tiff? Tiff.
That's perfect.
I think I texted you when I was like, I was on my way to Indiana. I was like, there's a city called Tiff. And I was like,
I
Tiff.
think you did. I think you did. And I was like, what? Because I think I was at work and I was like, what is she talking about?
Yeah. And then like on our way back, we were on our way to Nebraska. We were going to Gothenburg, Nebraska. I know. And I saw it and I was like, I was right. And Josh was like, what are you talking about? I was like, Tiff, Tiff. He's like, Tiff. I'm like, 21 Jump Street's wife. He's like, oh, Tiff.
Yes, Jen. It is next Saturday at 7. It'll be every Saturday at 7. I might revisit the time and day when we start the next one, but for the remainder of this one, it will be 7 Eastern every Saturday.
You 21 Jump Street. That's what he calls you. He calls you either like the Holy Channing Tatum, 21 Jump Street, Vanilla Ice.
What is your question? How does it feel to be married to Channing Tatum's twin brother? Y'all gotta stop calling him that because he's gonna get a big head. He's gonna be out here thinking he's famous.
I was waiting for him to say, like, yell something at you, like, I am famous. I'm famous in the Lord.
I hear him in the
I've
kitchen.
heard it for 15 years.
Yep, he just typed in what he just yelled at me.
Oh.
His little sisters used to get so mad because people would say that about him. They're like, ew, no, now you've ruined Channing Tatum for me. My brother does not look like him.
Well, you're famous because you have a whole city.
I should move there.
You should move there. Just like, my name's Tiff, and I have a whole city. It's in Illinois.
That's kind of like Holly. The name of the road that we live on has her name in it.
Aww.
Didn't even think about it when I, said yes to the name. I was like, wait a minute. After I already had it monogrammed on everything, I was like, oh, we live on a road with her name on it.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, Rick, we can't move to Illinois because we found out yesterday from Rick that you got to pay for public school.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I forget how much. Was it $400, Rick, that you said you had to pay like per kid or something like that?
This is why homeschooling is an option.
That's what I said. I was like, if they ever tell me in Kentucky I got to pay to get my kid enrolled in school, that's a hard no. It was like enrollment fees and stuff that they had to pay. $400.
Absolutely not.
No.
Homeschooling. Just homeschool.
I can't. Jamie says I can't move to Tiff.
Why can't you move to Tiff?
I'm stuck in Corbin.
Dude, I'm moving to a town named Mishawaka.
And you can't say Paducah, but you can say that.
I know. I hate it. I don't know why I don't like it. I just, ugh.
Bad things happen there.
I imagine. Ugh.
Jen, did you homeschool? Were you yourself homeschooled, or did you homeschool children?
Sandra, come by my house. We'll host you for a good price. Everything's being brand.
Oh, Jen said you're only going to be 30 minutes away from her.
Wait, huh?
Jen A said you're only 30 minutes away from her where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
I crossed the Michigan state line like so many times. We went to the beach a lot. Like a lot.
Well, now you're like Dan and go to the beach a lot.
Well, it wasn't a beach. It was a lake with a sandbar.
Yeah, we have lakes with sandbars here too, but I don't really. They're crowded and lakes are nasty.
The hubby was like, "This is a beach." I'm like, "No, honey. A beach is actually surrounded by a body of water that's oceanic."
Yeah, they call it the beach here too. They're like, "It's the beach." I'm like, "No, it's not."
On Monday, gotta do a cross-store run. I'm a Sam's Club girl. We all know that.
She loves Sam's, but she hates Walmart.
Yes, I will not. Walmart. Gross. I don't know. I just get like the worst feeling at Walmart.
I like Walmart.
Walmart.
But I live in a little tiny town with nothing but Walmart, so.
Same. I do too. All I have is a Walmart and a Smith's.
We've got Walmart and Kroger.
Well, mine's a Kroger. It's just called Smith's.
Yeah. Kroger's okay if they got good sales, but if they don't, then I'm going to Walmart.
Right. Don't play. I would love to get out there. Girl, we literally just put our house up for sale. Like, we will private sale that for you. Legit. Get at me. Because we just put new butcher block, a new sink, new toilets, new showers, new bathroom, new flooring, new paint, new, what's that water heater thing called? It's like a water heater, but it's not a water heater.
No, it's called a water heater.
Oh, and then we have well water. So you don't ever have to pay a water bill. Just saying.
That's nice.
Right? And
yeah, Jamie, I also keep the Dollar General in business. If you don't want to go all the way across the bridge to go to Walmart, to go to town, I'm going to the Dollar General.
Dollar General?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Dollar Generals. There's one mile from our house. It's brand new. And exactly, Jamie, if you see me in there, mind your business, because I'm going to be in my pajamas. I've gone in there, ask Jess, I've gone in there in my pajamas and my hair wrapped up in a towel because I just got out of the shower.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. And I came back in the house and Jess goes, did you already go to Dollar General? And I said, yep. And he said, like that? And I said, yep. Went right in the Dollar General with my head in a towel.
I love it. Sandra, for real, text me. I think I texted you anyway, so text me because we rather private sell than have a bunch of people get a commission off of it.
Yes, there's so many Dollar Generals. We passed like, what, 2 or 3 on the way to church? It's crazy.
We have one.
We have so many.
But in Indiana, you have literally one in every freaking corner, man. I'm like, what is this?
That's Kentucky, too. There's one, like, when they built the one that's a mile from us, I was like, is that legit about to be a Dollar General? Because there's one, like, 2 miles the other direction.
Our Dollar General is the only store until you cross into West Virginia. Wow.
No.
No, absolutely not. No, thank you.
Mm-mm.
No.
Like, that's a nice thought in theory to be like, oh, I'm going to be way out here where there's nothing until you need something.
Right.
Not fun. Portage, Indiana.
Where is that?
Yeah, Dan.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, exactly.
Wait, where is that in Indiana?
Never heard of it.
Is that north or south? I'm from the north. We go to the north. We are in the north side of Indiana.
The only thing I know about Indiana is it touches Kentucky on one side.
Yeah, I'm kind of mad about that with you guys. Just saying. Ma'am.
And that border is like 3 hours away from where I'm at.
Northwest Indiana, close to the border of Illinois. I drive through Illinois to go to Indiana. I have to go through Chicago.
Paul, some of the Dollar Generals do have fruit.
Yes.
Some of the Dollar Generals in our area are getting like produce sections.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. One of the ones that's out by the lake has a produce section.
Not the beach, but the lake.
Yeah, it's by the beach. Yeah, ours does not have fruit because I have a feeling, Jamie, that if they had fruit at ours, it would like rot, because I've pulled stuff off of the shelves at Dollar General before down here, and I've been like, this is expired.
Ew.
No one has ever bought this before, ever. And it's nice right now because it's fairly new, but it's only a matter of time until it's really dirty.
Yep.
Because it's not going to be cleaned well.
Dude, I miss 7-Eleven. There was 7-Elevens in every.
Do we have 7-Eleven?
In Cali.
I don't know if we have any 7-Elevens around
There's some in Indiana. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
Most of our gas stations have like truck stops attached to them.
Like Love's and QT. What's the other one?
We have
J.
Loves and Pilots.
Yeah, Pilot.
Yeah. Yes, the flour. Ugh, ugh. And Jamie, tell me if I'm wrong, but when you walk in this Dollar General right here by the school, it smells like cat litter.
Ew.
Like not bad cat. It's not like used cat litter, but it smells like they've poured cat litter right there at the front door.
Ew.
Every time I walk in there, I'm like, oh, it smells like cat litter.
Wait, Sandra, just so you know, girl, there is nothing out here. Like, I live in the sticks, the sticky sticks. Like, there is no In and Out. There's no Jack. There's no.
Oh, that makes sense, Jamie. She says that they put their cigarettes out in cat litter. Okay, then that's why it smells like cat litter.
Ew.
I've always wondered why it smells like cat. I'm like, why does it smell like cat litter?
That's
Ew.
gross.
And even when it first opened, it smelled like cat litter. I'm like, no, it's not it.
That's gross.
All right, well, I'm going to hop off here and get these kids cleaned up and ready for bed. We got church tomorrow.
Ooh.
If I don't go, Jamie's going to come get me.
You better go to church, girl. They're going to drag you.
Yeah, well, our church doesn't start till 11:30, so, like, I really have no reason to, like, not be able to get up in time to go, but...
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
Our church starts at 9:30.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When we found this church and we went, okay, so Maddie was dating the pastor's son. They went to school together, and she went to a couple of youth things, and then we went to like their Halloween thing, but they called it the Harvest Festival or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we went, and the church's name is New Harvest, so it's kind of like a play on the name. But anyways, we went to that, and we kind of met everybody, and then we went to church a couple of Wednesdays. And then we decided to start going on Sundays. And I was like, oh, what time does church start? Because we were used to like, church at like 10. And no, it was 11:30. And I was like, 11:30? Like that? You can have a whole morning and then go to church. Like you're not rushing to get out the door real quick. Yeah, it takes 2 hours to get Jess ready. Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Does it really, Jess? Does it really?
Jess takes the longest to get ready to go anywhere. When we're getting ready to go somewhere, I get myself, Holly, Nolan, and Savannah ready in the time it takes Jess to get Jess ready.
Wow.
He takes a minute.
Is it because he's picking out which shoes are going to go best with his outfit?
That's really it. Yeah, he does plan a whole outfit down to the shoes. And the hat. The shoes and the hat have to go with the outfit.
Wow.
Jess says it's because he has one good side of his body, but Jess always took a little while to get himself ready. Get his goatee on point. When he used to do his hair, when he didn't like shave it and he had like hair to do, his hair took forever.
Was he one of those Guido boys from like the Jersey Shore?
Yeah. I'm easy. I don't wear makeup and I don't do anything with my hair. My hair either looks like this or it's balled up in a bun on my head. That's it. I'm not curling it. I'm not straightening it. I'm not doing nothing. And I'm definitely not putting on any makeup. So it's easy for me to just slap clothes on. Yeah, he shaved his head because he got tired of waiting for me to cut his hair. So he just... I kept saying I was going to cut it. And then I didn't. And he cut it off.
Oh, my gosh.
He'll grow it back out soon, I'm sure. It'll get cold and he'll grow his hair out.
I'm going back to it. Oh, there it is. There it is, sis. There it is.
It's getting winter time. He's got to get some hair on his head.
Apparently, it's going to be a very cold, very snowy winter.
Don't. Absolutely not.
That's what I've read.
Everyone at work keeps saying that. Like, the Farmer's Almanac says. And
I
I'm
don't
like,
believe
well.
in the Farmer's Almanac. I believe in reading what Noah said. You know what, Rick? Don't eat a burrito.
I do not want snow. Like, it's okay. Okay, if it snows and I don't have anywhere to go, that's fine. But other than that, no. last year we got snowed in for like several days because it snowed really bad. And then we couldn't get out for like 3 or 4 days. And then as soon as it started to clear up, it snowed again. And it just kept resetting itself. And that's super annoying.
When I moved to Wyoming, it was the day I moved, it was negative 43 degrees. I am a girl from SoCal. I am a SoCal girly through and through. I was like, what is this? And I immediately was like asking God, what did I do to deserve this? Am I getting punished? Because I didn't know. And I didn't know what snow was. Like, I've seen snow, but I didn't. Yeah, negative 43 degrees. And then.
What house burnt down, Jamie? What? Where? Jamie lives like right. Okay, so our road like goes this way, and then there's a road that cuts across. And then the road continues on down that way, and she lives on that side.
I was going to say, does she live in Patahucha?
Rick, that's what happens here, too. They'll be like, oh, we're going to get 6 to 8 inches of snow, and we get nothing. But see, that's what I said last year. They were calling for a big snow, and I was like, oh, it's not going to do anything. And it snowed more than they said it was going to snow. And I was not ready.
It snowed all of like 22 through like the end of 22 November all the way up until a week before we got married. We got married in June.
Jamie, I did not see that. I don't usually, so when I go out on that end of the road, I take the fork that goes towards the school. And so I just see that little like cabin looking house all the time. I don't usually see anything else. And I don't go on that side of the road at all if the kids don't have school that day.
Because it's Patahucha.
But I'll have to look that's crazy. Did that just happen like today? Snow in October, that's a no.
Yep.
Right.
Girl, come to good old Wyoming.
Nope, that's not going to happen.
No, not you.
I'm not going to go anywhere colder than right here.
I told Sandra, not you. I already know you will not take.
You can take Sandra. I don't like cold.
I'm going to a state that has lake effect. What in the world?
Nope, not happening.
Never knew in this whole wide world what lake effect was until I went to Indiana and we crossed state line into Michigan and there was a lake effect going on. And I was like, what? What is this? Why? What? I was like, what do you mean? What is this? Yeah, it was the worst.
Jamie, now I'm going to have to go down there and see which house it is.
Oh, no. Tiff investigates.
Well, I'm trying to think. The one house that I'm thinking of, I'm pretty sure that there's kids that live there.
I know. Lake effect is completely unpredictable. We were passing some lake. It was really pretty. And the next thing I know, like there's like lake effect going on. And I'm like, what is this? What's going on here? So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to hop off so I can go get these kids ready for bed because it's pushing 9. But
bye.
Thank you for hopping up here and keeping me company.
Thank you for having me. Love you. Bye.
Thank all of you guys for showing up. Like I said, there will be next week, 7 o'clock Saturday. We're going to do Ruth. Obviously, that's in the book of Ruth. And then we're going to do Monday night, our couples live. But you don't have to be a couple to come. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Yep, okay. I think I know the house you're talking about. All right, well, thank you guys for coming, and I will see you all on Monday. Bye.